Okay, so basically we're just going to have a look at this and give you a heads up for the prep that you're about to do. Okay, for whichever day I've set it for. Just a really short prep, but I wanted to give you some coaching on how to answer these questions. Okay, so I'm just going to try and do a little bit more coaching so you can see individually how to do these questions. Okay, so the question here is, and the prep question was, briefly evaluate a study. All right, briefly evaluate. Let's just put a highlighter on here. So again, we've got this word evaluate. All right, but this time it's asking for a study. And here it's asking for cultural variations on gender. But this word evaluate is the command. It's telling you what you need to see. The other thing you really should be aware of here is how many marks. Always look at how many marks. That's so significant because that's telling you again how much you have to go, how much detail you have to go into. So here the question says evaluate a study. All right, evaluate means what's good or bad about that study, or a theory or some research, whatever. Okay, this time it's a study on cultural variations. So we need to comment on this particular study, on a study. So who's the obvious study? That's what you're going to be looking at. You know, there are two that you could refer to. One of them I've already said is better than the other one in terms of this. So you need to refer back to your notes and find a problem with her particular work. There's a bit of a hint for you. And the way to tackle this is the same as lots of our answers. So we've got this same old thing. All right, we're going to apply this guide. First bit is point. All right, that is say something about a key term. Some terminology, a key phrase, nothing waffly. We want some nice scientific term that identifies the problem. So it's like labeling the problem, if you like. So, for example, here, what was she criticised for? And, you know, some of you have talked about it. We talked about it in the lesson a little bit. So what term could you start with? That's what you're going for as your point. You then need to go on to explain that point. So our first E stands for explain. All right, so really this means you need to explain what that term was. Whatever you've set up here, that nice little terminology, that nice little buzz phrase, all right, that's going to get you the mark, the key criticism. All right, you want to go on to explain, what do we mean by this, whatever it is that you've said. This means you need to explain what you mean by that term, and then you explain how that can be applied to this specific research. So our final E here, all right, remember we're talking about point, explain, evidence maybe, or evaluate, either of those. So P-E-E, all right, point, explain, and evidence. Here we've probably already given enough evidence with what you've said here. So we've actually put in an E there on how this applies to the study. But you could also go on to giving the opposing view. So here, what was good about her research? When we're evaluating it, if we start off with a criticism, you can then say, however, one good thing about it was blah, blah, blah. All right. Or if you've started off with a positive, so you said one really positive thing about this research was such and such, you could end up and say, oh, however, some people criticize it because of whatever. Okay. So that's another way of doing it. And that's it.